Okay, this is going to be a little tutorial on how to generate your design for the chromatic transparency project in Illustrator. So it's very similar to the way we did the equivocal project. There's just a couple other things that I'm going to do that's a little bit different. We're going to need to generate a grayscale design, and then if you're going to be doing the painting by hand, the analog design, you would really benefit from having a line drawing that you can transfer. So we'll do both of these. All right. So let's make a new file. So we'll go File, New, and let's make it 8 by 8 inches, and color mode CMYK, and the pixel per inch 300. Hit OK. Let's make sure that you have your color checked and layers checked. You can see that right here, here's the color palette, and then this is the layers palette. We're going to need 4 layers, so let's go ahead and just generate those. If you just click on this, it starts to generate layers. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 will be on the bottom and 4 will be on the top. So our bottom layer, what we want to do is generate a square that is a grayscale. So if we click down here in the color mode, you can see that it changes it from color. So you can see the CMYK sliders here are in color. When I click on this, it goes into grayscale mode. That's what we want. So what we want to do is go to our rectangle tool, and we're just going to generate a rectangle, which is going to start out being black. That's okay. Let's bring the fill up. So let's go, I don't know, that looks pretty good to me. Okay. We need to get rid of the stroke. Okay. Let's lock this layer, and then let's go to layer 2. So layer 2 is the first object I'm going to bring in, and I'm going to use my little piggy. So I'm going to go File, Place, and I have my little JPEG. Here he is. He comes in here, and he's way too big. I can move him. But let's live trace him. So we're going to go to Image Trace, and then go over here to the little Image Trace panel. And remember this. Let's hit Ignore White, and that does that. Get rid of this. On the Selection tool, this allows us to do some transformations. So if we just hover in the corner here, we can turn him a little bit. And we can also change his scale as long as we hit the Shift key. That's good enough for our study. Okay. All right. Now, the one thing when we expand him, in order to work with him, or when we transform him, we need to work with him we have to hit Expand. I want to make sure we do that. Okay, now that we've done that, let's go ahead and lock this layer. And then let's work on the next layer, layer 3. And layer 3 is actually going to be my little circle thing. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do it by making what's called a compound path. So I'm going to go to my ellipse tool. I'm just going to click anywhere, it doesn't matter. I get this dialog box. I'm going to make an ellipse, it's a circle, and I'm going to make it 7 inches by 7. I'm going to hit OK. So that generates just a black circle. That's okay. You know, I could make this guy a little bit lighter. You know, eventually I'm going to make him a mid-tone gray, so that's okay. Now, to make the compound path, I'm going to stay in my layer 3. I'm going to generate another circle. This one I'm going to make, I'm just going to say this one will be 4 inches by 4 inches. And I'm going to hit OK. Now, in order to make this a little bit easier to see, I'm going to lighten it up. All right. I'm going to now move this over to the center, and you can tell when I hit it, it says center. So I'm on the center there. Okay. Now to make a compound path, this is a little different than when we did our selection. Select both by hitting the Shift key and selecting either. So then you go to Object, and this is different than making a clipping mask. We're going to make a compound path, and you're going to see what's going to happen. Go Make. Okay, and that punches a hole in there. That's nice. Okay, so we've got that guy. This one, let's change our transparency. So one of the things we want to do let's bring up transparency, and then we're going to change it to, let's change it to 60%. And now we can see through it. That's good. So let's lock this layer and then go on to our last layer. So we're going to bring in the syringe. So we're going to go File, Place. There's the little syringe. Place. Comes in very small. I'm going to hit the Shift key, enlarge it. Rotate it a little bit. Enlarge it some more. Okay, and then I'm going to image trace it. So it brings in the background, so I need to go to the image panel, say ignore white. Okay, get rid of it. There it is. But I want this to be really light, so I'll go to my grayscale ramp here. I forgot to expand it. Hit expand, and then that'll allow me to then color it. And then I'll go to my transparency, go to 60%, and that's it. So that's pretty good. That gives me enough transparency and enough contrast that when I export it into Photoshop, I can then color it. I might want to check it, make sure that's all okay. So let's save this. Let's go File, Save As, and let's call it I'll save it to my desktop as a Illustrator file. Okay. And then we're going to rename it because we're going to change this file. So let's go File, Save As, Chromatic 1, and I'm going to go OUT, standing for outline. Save. Okay. So even though it looks like the same file, it is a different file. There it is. There it is. So what I want to do now is turn this into outlines. Okay, so let's go back, start at the bottom, take this off, and now what I want to do is, instead of fill, I want it to be a stroke. So I just reverse it to a stroke, and I need to change the stroke dimension. Let's change it to 4. Okay, there it is. All right. Get out of that, lock it. Let's go to the layer above. Unlock it. And then again, let's change that. Now, the problem is, you see the stroke is set to gray, and it's also transparent. So we want to change it back to 100%. And then let's lock that. Let's unlock layer 4, select it. Again, let's change the opacity to 100% and then to 4, and there we go. Now, probably to print it, let's just get rid of, turn off the bottom layer, and that gives us a white option there. So what you might want to do to print these is save them as PDFs. So just go File, Save As, and then save it as a PDF. Save PDF. Now what's good about that is it's also saved. If you still have the Illustrator file, you can work in it. I'm looking at this. I probably should have moved this around. I don't like that the little tail is there, but you get the idea. I would probably go back to this one and save this as a PDF. And then go ahead and print those. So you're ready for that step. Okay.